I want to thank our reader, Nancy Wirtz, Gary Lynn Floyd, and our CSL music team for all the fabulous music today. And as we continue on this journey through the untethered soul, we concentrate today on chapters 8 and 9. Let go now or fall, and removing your inner thorns. So far, we've examined part 1, which was about awareness consciousness, and part 2 about experiencing energy. And today is our first talk on part 3, freeing yourself. What I know is freeing myself sounds like a great thing because sometimes I'm my worst jailer. So today we're going to examine how we tend to suffer because we divine how things ought to be rather than going with the flow of life. And we explore how to refuse to participate in any inner struggle, any struggle that causes us pain. First, let me give you the question for the week. What is that one choice that you can make today to accept there can be life without fear? To know life surrounds you with people and situations to stimulate your growth. And to remember to give up the struggle to remain the same. One more time. What is that one choice you can make today to accept there can be life without fear? To know life surrounds you with people and situations to stimulate your growth, and to give up the struggle to remain the same. In chapter 8, Let Go Now or Fall, Singer offers a powerful invitation to embrace the practice of surrender, the act of releasing our attachments to the thoughts, emotions, and identities that bind us. He writes, if you truly want to grow spiritually, you need to be willing to let go of the past and whatever has been holding you back. We're invited to contemplate the urgency of letting go, recognizing that clinging to the familiar may lead to our spiritual stagnation and eventual downfall. As Singer puts it, you either let go and float, or you hold on tight and drown. Doesn't sound like much of a choice, does it? Singer actually tells us that our definition of how things ought to be for us to be okay is actually what causes our suffering. You've probably heard me say before, it's our expectations that cause us pain. And it's so true. The truth is that life is unpredictable and uncontrollable. I certainly wouldn't have expected my daughter to have her heaven birthday in January or for me to get COVID in February. And that's what life brought me. Let's face it, our attempts to make order out of a chaotic world, to define how the world ought to be so we can feel okay, only gets us farther away from that sense of control and safety that we so desire in our lives. As Singer puts it, the alternative is to decide not to fight with life. You realize and accept that life is not under your control. Life is continuously changing, and if you're trying to control it, you'll never be able to fully live it. Remember that phrase, what you resist, persist? If we know in resisting we perpetuate it persisting, I wonder why our nature is so often to fight what life brings to us, to try to define how things should be. I said last week, one of my favorite quotes from this book is, the truth is, everything will be okay as soon as you are okay with everything. And yet, how many of us are truly okay with things not the way we desire them to be? As soon as there are disturbances, we tend to complain, to avoid, even try to fix it. Singer says this: "This is the anatomy of falling. When you're in this state of disturbance, your tendency will be to act in order to try to fix things. You don't have the clarity to see what's going on. You just want the disturbance to stop." And where does that get us? It would be far better if we learned that life surrounds us with situations and people to stimulate our growth. And if we also learned to give up the struggle for things to remain the same. People don't like change. They want things to remain the same. Singer describes how we get pulled down into disturbed energy and everything becomes distorted by the haze of that disturbance. Further, even though nothing has really changed, things that we like doing or things we used to think were fun or beautiful now don't seem so fun. They're less beautiful, or they may even feel depressing. These shifts in our perception are the warning bell that goes off to remind us it's time to let go. Singer encourages us to let all of our blockages and disturbances become the fuel for our journey, even telling us that the things that hold us down are the very things that can become a powerful force that raises us up. Here's how he puts it. So don't fall, let go. No matter what it is, let it go. The bigger it is, the higher the reward of letting go. And the worse the fall if you don't. It's pretty black and white. You either let go or you don't. There really isn't anything in between. So this man is walking in the mountains on this very narrow path, and he falls down the side of the mountain. On his way down, he feels like he's falling and falling, and eventually he manages to grab a branch and stop his fall. Realizing he's not going to be able to hang on very long, he calls out, "Anyone up there?" Surprisingly, a voice says, "I'm here." "Who are you?" the man asks. "God," comes the answer. The man says, "I need help." God says, "Do you trust me? Do you really trust me? If you do, let go." There's a pause, and the man yells, "Anyone else up there?" The interesting thing is, far too often, we want to control our destiny. We get that little nudge that tells us that something should be changed, and we ignore it. Or we don't like what the nudge has to say to us, so we ignore it. It's our way of saying, "Anyone else up there?" Or, "Is there anything else I can do?" As we navigate life's twists and turns, we must learn to cultivate the practice of surrender, to trust in the wisdom of the universe, and surrender to the divine intelligence that orchestrates all of creation. Let us learn to truly trust God and let go. Let's relinquish that need for approval or understanding and surrender to the unfolding mystery of life. Singer reminds us, you don't have to like it, you just have to let it happen. And remember, spiritual growth is not an intellectual exercise. It's a lived experience. It's a matter of making conscious choice to release our attachments and surrender to the flow of existence. I was working on this talk and arrived home this past week to my front door not being able to lock, and heaven forbid, my water wasn't on. In addition, the tires on my car were very low. Surprisingly, And I'm sure because I was working on this talk, I just decided to embrace my talk and see what life would look like. I'm not sure what the end of that story is. The water's getting turned back on. I need a couple new tires. But I do know that I slept well that night, and I knew that somehow it would get resolved. I walked the talk, and things just seemed to work out. Singer writes, "You have to make a decision to transcend the tendencies of your personality and to open and let go." So let's embody this truth. I can certainly say that when I discovered that I didn't have any water, my tendency was definitely to see how I could fix it right then, right now. And I'm so glad that this talk was on my mind. Yet, how do we open up and let go? I love Singer's analogy in chapter 9 about a thorn in our body. As he uses the metaphor of a thorn, Singer offers profound insights into the nature of suffering and the root causes of our emotional pain. If you read the chapter, you might recall that he talks about when you have a thorn in your body, you have two choices. You can protect it from anything touching it so it doesn't increase your pain, and you can even go to great lengths to protect that area, perhaps even giving up hugs or other things that you like to do. Or you can remove the thorn. Now you might say, well, the obvious choice is just make sure you remove the thorn. Yet with our inner thorns, it's not that easy. And we often make the first choice. Let's try to protect them. Singer writes, "The inner thorn is just a metaphor for anything that causes you pain. Consider the ways in which unresolved traumas, fears, and attachments create internal friction and discomfort within us. And then think about how we learn to protect ourselves from the pain of someone touching that inner thorn. For example, it's easy to think that you're lonely because your relationships keep breaking down, and you may patch up those relationships many times, become a better friend, but none of your external efforts may abate your feelings of loneliness. It's more likely that you're lonely because you're trying to get people to like you instead of being interested and genuinely liking them. As long as you continue trying to get people to like you, nothing is probably going to help that sense of feeling lonely. The even scarier thing is most people don't know how much they suffer mentally and emotionally because they are so acclimated to their suffering, they've become unaware of it. I remember when I had my first back surgery, one that I had put off for years until I could no longer walk and had no choice. And after the surgery, I was amazed that people actually walk this planet without back pain. It wasn't my experience. Singer tells us, the spiritual journey is one of constant transformation. In order to grow, you must give up the struggle to remain the same and learn to embrace change at all times. Believe it or not, you can live through life without your perpetual worries and anxieties. What it takes is for you to stop demanding your mind to control people, the things that happen to you, and the insecurities that those things cause you. Because newsflash, your mind can't control those things anyway. Singer describes the process of removing that inner thorn in this way: a letting go process where you release the pain and the energy that's holding the pain in place. The path of inner healing is a sacred journey. It's a journey of self-exploration, of forgiveness, of self-compassion. Imagine the freedom that arises when we release our grip on past hurts and allow the healing energies of love and compassion to flow through us. And it takes courage. It takes vulnerability. It takes self-discovery. Singer writes, "You have to be willing to take responsibility for holding on to your inner thorn." Let's embody that truth. Acknowledge our role in perpetuating our own suffering and reclaim our power to release it. We might move through our life unaware that we are healthy if we don't have to think about our psyche or about how to be less fearful, less lonely, or less involved, or less unloved. Lesson 48 of A Course in Miracles tells us there is nothing to fear. The presence of fear is a sure sign that you are trusting in your own strength. The awareness that there is nothing to fear shows that somewhere in your mind, though not necessarily in a place you recognize as yet, you have remembered God and let His strength take the place of your weakness. The instant you're willing to do this, there is indeed nothing to fear. Now, those are words to live by. And I love that it says, somewhere in our mind, we've recognized that we've remembered God. Singer states our relationship with fear this way: the only way to get rid of it is to go inside and let it dissolve. What if we were to contemplate this invitation to turn inward, acknowledging and embracing our inner wounds with compassion and courage, and being willing to dissolve them? What if we each made an effort to learn to navigate the terrain of our inner landscape and cultivate the practice of radical acceptance, embracing every aspect of ourselves with unconditional love and understanding? Now, I know that's a tall order, but just imagine what life would be like if you did. Singer reminds us, your heart is the center of your being. It is the whole thing. So let us turn towards the sanctuary of our hearts, where the seeds of healing and transformation await us to release it. We can become agents of our own healing. We can practice surrender and letting go so that we can continue to infuse our life with grace and with peace and with comfort. So may we remember the journey of removing our inner thorns is a sacred pilgrimage, one that requires courage, compassion, and especially self-love. Here's what Singer has to say. How do you free yourself? In the deepest sense, you free yourself by finding yourself. You are not the pain you feel, nor are you the part that periodically stresses out. None of these disturbances have anything to do with you. You are the one who notices these things. So let's free ourselves by embracing these words from Singer and find ourselves and remove those inner thorns. So in summary, How might you fully embrace a life without fear and give up the struggle to remain the same? Remember, let go now or fall. Be willing to let go of anything in the past that's holding you back. If something disturbs you, don't try to fix it. Let it be. Remember that life situations and people stimulate our growth. Accept help rather than asking, anyone else up there? You don't have to like it. Just let it happen. And give up the struggle to remain the same. Give up trying to protect yourself from the pain of those inner thorns and experience the strength of your inner being. Become a healing agent. Go inside and dissolve the pain. So here's your affirmation for the week. How is it I so willingly, energetically, and effortlessly know there can be life without fear? That life surrounds me with people and situations to stimulate my growth, and I give up the struggle to remain the same. So this week, make a conscious choice to tap into that infinite spiritual energy. Keep your heart open, and rather than trying to protect those inner thorns, work at removing them. Find a way each day to release any thoughts or emotions that are creating pain for you, and just recognize that life situations and people are stimulating your growth. So just accept it. Let's pray. We take a deep, nourishing breath. We allow ourselves to settle, to really think about this message, to think about how we're protecting those inner thorns that we have. What I know is that each of us is filled with compassion and forgiveness and self-love and courage. And we can use that courage, that compassion, that self-love to help us to see how to remove those inner thorns. We can absolutely move through our lives, letting go of anything in the past that's holding us back, that disturbs us, and just accept it. Let it be. Remember, Singer said we don't have to like it, just let it happen. So knowing that we were here by divine appointment to hear these words, that there is something within us that is begging to be released, some inner thorn that is ready to be released back into the universe and out of our systems. I am grateful. I am so grateful for everyone that shows up, and I'm grateful to know that the God without is right within us. And if we trust in that divine, we can let go. We truly can let go. So knowing that, I just release these words into the law of mind, spirit, and action, knowing the truth that right where we are, God is, and that the divine is saying yes, already calling all of this done, already leading us down that path of how to release our inner thorns. So knowing that, I say amen, and together we can affirm it. And so it is. So I want to thank everyone that continues to support us. We are a loving community that is concerned with everyone's abundance, and we support each other on a regular basis. So knowing that, just enjoy our offertory hymn.